What if you knew the exact date you were going to die? Not a guess, not a fear whispered at 3 a.m. An actual date, sitting in your pocket, on your phone, in your blood. A number you could check the way you check the weather. Sounds horrifying, right? Most people would say no thanks, keep me in the dark. But here's the twist nobody expects. The moment this technology exists, almost everyone looks anyway. Let's say tomorrow a biotech lab announces a breakthrough, a simple blood test that reads the subtle wear and tear inside your cells, your telomeres, your inflammation markers, thousands of tiny biological clues, and calculates your death date with uncanny, unsettling accuracy. Not a vague range, a single day,
We cannot
down to
allow
the
this
year,
mutation to
sometimes
spread
even the
further. It's
month.
too
At
dangerous.
first, it's a
And who are
controversy.
you to decide what's
Ethicists
safe?
go on television and argue this should never be released.
The data
Religious leaders call it an
proves
affront to God. Psychologists warn of mass panic. The lab insists it's just information, no different from a blood pressure reading. And then someone leaks the test online for free. Within 72 hours, over 40 million people have
the
used it.
anomaly is spreading
Here's where
faster than
things
we
get weird.
anticipated.
The result
We need
isn't
to
what
act.
scientists predicted. People don't collapse into despair. They don't immediately quit their jobs and disappear into the mountains. Most people, when they get their date, just stare at it for a long moment and then go back to making coffee. Because here's the stranger thing about human psychology. We're incredibly good at not really believing things, even proven things, until they're standing right in front of us. But give it a few weeks. That's when the real changes begin. Imagine a man named David, 44 years old, accountant, fairly average life. He takes the test as a joke at a friend's birthday party. The result comes back 22 years left. Not bad, plenty of time. But 3 days later, his co worker takes the same test. 8 months. And suddenly, David can't stop thinking about it. Because if it can happen to one who runs marathons on weekends, it can happen to anyone. The illusion that we have forever shatters in an instant. And once that illusion is gone, it doesn't come back. This is where society begins to transform, and not in the ways you'd expect. Insurance companies are the first to move, and of course they are, because someone always finds a way to monetize a miracle. Within a year, your death date determines your premiums. Long timeline, discounts, perks, priority service. Short timeline, try getting approved for a 30-year mortgage when your 30-year mortgage might outlive you. Governments scramble to write laws faster than they can think them through. Some countries ban the test outright, calling it a threat to public order. Naturally, this creates a black market, because nothing makes people want something more than telling them they can't have it. Underground clinics start popping up in cities where the test is illegal, charging absurd amounts of money for 5 minutes and a finger prick. Dating apps add a new optional field, expected lifespan remaining. And yes, within weeks, people are filtering matches by it. Romance becomes quietly and uncomfortably transactional. Would you fall in love with someone if you knew going in you'd only get 6 good years together? Some people say absolutely 6 incredible years beat 60 mediocre ones. Others can't bring themselves to even try. Then there's the workplace. Some companies start asking for your number during hiring. Illegal almost everywhere, technically, but try proving that's actually why you didn't get the job. And because the internet somehow always makes everything weirder, date reveal videos become the biggest trend on social media overnight. Millions of views, people sobbing on camera, people laughing with relief, people finding out live in front of an audience of strangers exactly how long they have left. You probably haven't thought about this part, but here's where the psychology gets genuinely strange. The people who get short timelines don't always become more reckless. A lot of them become almost unbearably present. They notice sunsets again. They call their parents more. There's actually a name researchers start using for this in the years that follow. The phenomenon gets nicknamed clarity syndrome, the strange gift hidden inside terrible news. When the infinite becomes finite, people stop postponing their lives. But the people who get long timelines, that's where it gets darker. Some of them fall into something almost like existential boredom. If you know with total certainty that you have 70 more years, an odd kind of complacency creeps in. Why rush? Why take the leap? Ask her out, take the risk, start the company. There's time. There's always time. Until there's always time becomes its own quiet tragedy, a life slowly wasted, cushioned by the false comfort of a long number. And then there's the group nobody really talks about, the people who refuse the test entirely. Within a few years, choosing not to know becomes its own statement, almost a philosophy. They're mocked sometimes, called naive, called scared. But a strange thing happens. Studies start showing these people report being, on average, happier than both groups who got tested. Because uncertainty, it turns out, was never the enemy. It was the thing protecting us all along. Now here's the biggest twist, the one nobody saw coming. About 5 years after the technology spreads worldwide, scientists notice something disturbing in the data. Death dates start shifting, not because the test was wrong, because human behavior changes the outcome. People who believe they have decades left start neglecting their health, coasting on borrowed time that was never actually guaranteed. People who believe their time is short sometimes push themselves into extraordinary discipline, eating better, sleeping better, healing relationships, lowering stress, and several of them blow straight past their predicted date entirely. In other words, the prophecy starts rewriting itself. The test wasn't just predicting the future, it was changing it. Belief itself became a biological variable nobody accounted for, which means the most powerful force in this entire story was never the science. It was the story people told themselves about their own number. Society eventually settles into an uneasy peace with the technology. Some embrace it fully, treating their date like a deadline that makes every year matter more. Others reject it completely, choosing the ancient, terrifying, oddly beautiful uncertainty that humans have lived with since the very beginning. And maybe that's the real discovery hiding inside this whole thought experiment. We always assumed that knowing when we'd die would be the worst possible curse. But maybe the actual curse was never the not knowing. Maybe it was how easily we forget we're dying at all, slowly, quietly, every single day, without a single notification reminding us. So maybe the real question isn't whether you'd want to see your death date. Maybe it's this. If you already know you're running out of time, even without a number to prove it, what exactly are you waiting for?